All right, guys. Welcome to the D3 cross country coaches panel. We're celebrating D3 week this week, all week, and got a few of my closest friends here together, coaches from across the country at different schools, and got Jordan Carpenter from Pomona-Pitzer, Bobby Van Allen more from SUNY Geneseo, Jeff Stiles from WashU in St. Louis. And I just want to, I know I just introduced them, but I'm going to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves. Jordan, why don't you take it away?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Jordan Carpenter. I'm the head men's cross-country track and field coach at Pomona-Pitzer in Claremont, California, just outside of Los Angeles. This is my fourth year there. Prior to that, I actually grew up in Wisconsin and spent most of my life there. Competed Division III as well. That was kind of my start into, I guess, Division III and coaching. Competed at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, and that was really kind of what vaulted me into my coaching career.
And Bobby, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Bobby Van Allen. I'm the head track and field and cross country coach for both men and women at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. This is year 21 for me. I competed at the University of Maryland, graduated 1998 there, and came right up to Hopkins, first as an assistant coach. Just thought I was going to be there for 6 months. 21 years later, still here. Going strong, loving it, and just excited to be a part of this great group here.
And Dan?
I'm Dan Moore. I am the head men's and women's cross-country coach at SUNY Geneseo, and I work with the distance athletes. I'm assistant coach for the track and field program. This is going to be my 6th year as the head coach for SUNY Geneseo. I was 3 years assistant prior to that. I coached 4 years at the high school level before that and 2 years as a graduate assistant during school. So this is going to be the start of my 15th year coaching, 9 with the program, specifically 6 as the head coach. And we compete in the SUNYAC conference, which is State University of New York Athletic Conference, and which is all the SUNY schools, part of the state schools, Division III, within that conference. And Geneseo is about 40 minutes south of Rochester, New York, kind of western New York. in upstate.
And Jeff.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Matt for organizing and inviting me to be a part of this. This is my 19th year at WashU. My name is Jeff Stiles. I'm the head cross-country, head track and field coach for men and women. Let's see here. I attended North Central College, where I had the privilege to run for the greatest coach to ever walk the earth, in Alcarius, which is really the main reason I got into coaching. And I was 2 years a graduate assistant at Southwest Missouri State, now just Missouri State. And I was fortunate my first job out, like Bobby, it's like you start somewhere and don't know how long you're going to be there. And it's the only job I've had full time. So I'm appreciative for that.
All right. And Jeff, I think I met you probably right around the time you transitioned to WashU. So we've been friends for about 20 years now. And that's about how long I've been a coach. My name is Matthew Barreau. I'm the head cross country assistant track coach at Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon. This is my first year at that school. Like I said, about 20th overall coaching. I think the reason I got into coaching was the opportunity to affect people's lives. And that's what my high school coach did for me. And it kind of set me on that path to becoming a coach. And I'm really excited to talk with all you guys today and just share a little bit about our love for D3. So, on that note, I remember, Jeff, I'll start with you. I remember when you got the job at WashU. I think I was still right around in college, finishing up with college, and my first impression was, why is he going to a D3 school? Why would he coach there? And I think that's a lot of the mindset of people across the country, high school coaches, high school athletes, D1s on TV all the time. So tell us a little bit about what you've enjoyed about being at D3.
Yeah. Well, I love Division III. I think Division III is what the NCAA is intended to be. I think philosophically, it reinforces you're doing it because you love it. You can be a sub 4-minute miler, or you could be a 5-minute male miler, and you're getting the same amount of athletic aid. So when you go to school, I was teammates with guys that were trying to break 30 minutes for 8,000 meters and guys that were trying to break 24 minutes for 8,000 meters. And everyone was treated the same. And you're doing it because you love it. And you know that. And I remember being introduced to the Division I level as a graduate assistant and just seeing it, the business side, that the reality is schools' philosophies are different. And at Division III, the school philosophy, it can't be about money because there's not money there. And it's about being the best you can. And my coach, Paul Carries, who's been doing it since 1966, whole motto was run for fun and personal best. And he taught me to fall in love with running. And my high school coach was a great coach, and he taught me to work hard. And Al taught me that running is a lifestyle, that athletics complements the rest. And I think at a school in Division III, you're looking to have a harmonious relationship with athletics and academics where they complement one another. And you're truly a student athlete, or we like to say at WashU, a scholar champion. And so you don't have to pick. It's not selecting athletics over academics or even academics over athletics. You're doing it because it's intended to be both. And you're a person. And you can put in as much as you want. Specifically on the distance side, and I'm the head track and field coach specifically with the distance runners. And one thing I love is on the distance side, it is a lifestyle. It is a lifelong sport. Hurdling isn't necessarily going to be a lifelong event for you, but distance running can be. And I believe that we have the opportunity to impact lives. Al would raise us up to be young men. And he cared about the next 40 years of our life. That's what we're preparing. Really promotes that. We're promoting the whole person. And so I believe that what we're trying to do is so much bigger. We're trying to help create better parents, better spouses, better employees, people that are going to impact the world. And my job security isn't volatile if we win or lose. I think my job security based around if I was keeping kids from going to class. And I believe that we have our priorities right. I think Division III reinforces that. And it's about love and passion, and running for fun and personal best. It just doesn't get any better than that. And so for me, I think as a runner, I think it allows you to be the best runner you can be, having that mentality. And so anyway, my experience was so great. It's why I wanted to go into what I went into for my job. And I want to be able to give that back. And I think at Division III, I can take my experience and offer that back to students that are much smarter than I was, but in it for the same reason, doing it because they love it.
And Jordan, you were a D3 athlete as well, and transitioned to becoming a coach. Kind of share your experience as the athlete and then as a coach, and what you've enjoyed about D3.
Yeah, I think my story is similar to a lot of Division III athletes, where maybe we had a little bit of success at the high school level, locally, and highlight of my high school career was qualifying for the state cross country meet once. I think I finished 100 and something at the state meet, but it really was my senior year, and I got really passionate about this sport, and I wanted to find a way to continue it, and continue to explore this passion that I had found with distance running. And I was fortunate to have a really awesome high school coach who also competed Division III, that really helped guide me to some different options. And I looked at a lot of different schools, and a couple that were Division I, and they kind of said not a chance, and which was fair. I was about a 10-minute 2-miler, which I thought was pretty good. But so then I got the opportunity at University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, and really, for me there, it was the fit. And that's what I found to be the right place for me. And I looked at a lot of Division III schools throughout Wisconsin, and that was the right fit. And I was fortunate to have the opportunity there to continue my passion in the sport and continue to grow. And if Division III wasn't there, I would have never had those opportunities. My athletic career would have been done. And I was fortunate to have things go well during my collegiate career, where I went from someone who was just maybe a slightly above average high school runner to competing for national titles, on the track in steeplechase, my event, where I finished runner up nationally my last year competing. And then kind of what brought it into coaching was, my college coach, Eamon McKenna, was a huge influence in that, and just seeing the impact he had on my life and everybody that went through the program was immense, and all of the things that he was about and stood for, and really pushed us to do outside of running, whether that was in the community or with our family or whatever it was that we were really passionate about. And he really encouraged me to explore coaching, because he realized I had this passion for the sport. And I was a business major and thought I was going to go that route, and he really encouraged me not to do that. And so when I was in grad school, I had the opportunity to help out at Oshkosh and kind of get that first taste of what is coaching all about. And that really lit the fire for me. Right away, I realized this is something that's really awesome. You're able to impact student athletes that were just like I was, and kind of had a little bit of passion, and you get to be the one to really ignite it for the sport, and then obviously encourage them in all different areas of life, just like Jeff said. I haven't been coaching nearly as long as most of you, but in my 4+ years doing this pretty much full time, it's been awesome to see what my student athletes have done outside of the sport. We have students right now in some of the top medical programs that are going to be doctors one day, or we have one that's doing neuroscience, and like Jeff said, way smarter than we are. And it's just cool to see the things they're doing. We have others that are working for nonprofits across the country, or we have 2 seniors graduating right now that have jobs with Amazon lined up. So you see students going in every single direction, and it's just really cool to play a small part in their development as, like Jeff said, with Alcarius, young men, and kind of branching out into the world. And
Jordan, you ran at a a different state school, and Dan, you're the lone panelist that's at a state school currently. I was at one before as well in D3, but just talk a little bit about what what advantages. Not, I guess I'm wording that wrong, but just what things about a lot of people think D3s are only the private schools. So just kind of talk a little bit about how what an opportunity that is for people, primarily within the state of New York to be able to come to a state school and still have these Division III opportunities.
Sure. Yeah. So I coach at SUNY Geneseo, and SUNY stands for State University of New York. Within the SUNY system, there are dozens and dozens of different colleges to choose from. And specifically within our conference, there's 10. But being a state school, we are a public liberal arts college, and we offer many different academic majors. We also come at a state tuition price. It's a little bit cheaper to look at in-state and get it at an affordable price compared to other private universities. And what we pride ourselves on is trying to give our athletes, student athletes, any student that comes to Geneseo, that kind of private school feel for the public tuition, the public cost. Unique thing about Geneseo is, compared to the other panelists on this, is that our roster is almost 100% in-state. So we really recruit in-state, because out-of-state, then they start paying the out-of-state tuition. So keeping it within state, we have every one of our athletes is from New York State with the exception of one. I've been coaching at Geneseo for 6 years now, and I've only ever coached 3 athletes from out of state. So it's pretty unique about us, is that we give them the public option. Comes a little bit cheaper, and we can still give them a really neat experience. And going to nationals and winning the conference championships, we've been very successful. I've had the pleasure to get to look at Geneseo in many different perspectives. I graduated from Geneseo. I'm fortunate to be the head coach at my alma mater. I was an assistant coach for 3 years, and under legendary coach Mike Woods. He's what put Geneseo on the map. He built up the program to national prominence, and so I was able to take over a program after working under him for 3 years, and that legacy that he built. And Division III, and specifically Geneseo, Woodsy instilled in all of us believe. We call it SUNY G Believe. Believe in your coaching, believe in your training, believe in your teammates, most importantly, believe in yourself. And carry that belief with you no matter where you go, in the classroom, on the cross-country course, on the track, and then above and beyond, like Jeff and Jordan were talking about, of just developing athletes to be productive members of society. And we're trying to prepare them to be the most marketable applicants for life after undergraduates. And the state school system really allows that, because we've got awesome opportunities to do study abroad. The Division III motto about dedicate and develop, with that's what we really focus on, is being the best athlete you can be, being the best student you can be, and then meshing in the social life as well, the academics, the athletic, and the social, and finding that balance. I think Division III really allows that to happen, like Jeff was talking about, of just meshing academics and athletics and the social life, and being involved in different organizations on campus and getting involved in clubs and activities. That's what Division III, and specifically at Geneseo, is really all about, is finding that balance, that harmonious balance to be the best human being and that one can be. So whether it's a private school, state school, I mean, Division III encompasses just balance across all of them, and it's a really special place to coach.
So, Jeff, Dan, and Jordan, you guys all ran at Division III, and now coaching at Division III. And Bobby, you ran at Division I, and almost the exact opposite of Dan. Your roster is not confined to one area. So talk a little bit about, I guess, the juxtaposition of how broad your recruiting is, and what uniqueness that brings to D3. At your institution, and I guess maybe a little bit of the transition of running as a D1 athlete and now coaching D3, and what things you see.
Right. Yeah. I think there's so many things with when you look at Division III schools of the opportunities. We've been talking about this for a while about the opportunities that it presents when you can take out scholarship dollars and finances and schools that might be so heavily focused on football, basketball. Coming from University of Maryland, though, I think you really break down our sport. The one thing is we aren't confined in these little bubbles. This isn't just Division III looks like this and Division I looks like that. We go to meets where you might have 100 schools at, where we get to all compete against each other. So I don't really think that my competitive athletic experience that I had at University of Maryland was so different from what my students are feeling at Hopkins. I think the advantages with Division III is that I can see is, one, it does create more opportunities. I know, as Jordan said, when, we had a roster of 9 men at University of Maryland on our cross country team. And we carry 28 men on our cross country team at Hopkins, and providing a little more opportunity and realizing that there's guys that, can come in and, be trying to break 4 minutes in a mile, or be sub 14-minute 5K guys that are still getting the opportunity to run some of the, whether it's Penn relays or, BU's indoor meets, or, we've got a couple opportunities to go out on the West Coast and, run the Stanford invite and still give them the same opportunities they'd have if they were at other Division I schools. But we also have those opportunities where, our 28th guy is still going up to Van Cortlandt Park and running at Iona and getting those opportunities as well. So I don't think it's these little bubbles and a competition difference. I think for us, it's trying to track that, look, this is what we can offer when you talk about opportunities. But then when you're talking about recruiting, we're going to look at, what individuals are going to best, complement our program as well. We do get to recruit nationally. We all probably have our own challenges, whether we're talking about, in-state, out-of-state tuition that, Coach Moore has, or location of our schools or admissions requirements. I mean, we all have those challenges, and I think we need to recruit, to, the best of our ability of what the strengths of your schools are. I mean, at Hopkins, it does have the name recognition and, all the great opportunities that it provides academically, for us becomes that priority that we focus on. We need to make sure that before we start talking about looking at times and runners, it's a question that I think all of us probably get at is like, what type of times I need to run to make the team. I try never to provide that because, quite frankly, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out about your character, but it really is Hopkins the right school for you, for anybody else that's looking at us. And, when you're talking to a 16, 17-year-old, I don't know how many of them really have their life figured out. I don't know, in my 40s, whether I have my life figured out. And I certainly didn't when I was 17. And some of the struggles that I had at University of Maryland, just going from an engineering student to trying to go into a pre-physical therapy route into kinesiology, was some great challenges to change your major at a large, D1 university, where at Hopkins, we talk about academic flexibility. We have students that come in thinking they want to be biomedical engineers, and before you know it, they're in a pre-law program. And sometimes it doesn't track at all. We had a girl about 8 years ago tell me she wanted to be a doctor. She was going to go get her, do her residency in surgery, and then wanted to go into plastic surgery after that. And I just want to be in school for 12 years. And she did. She didn't change that pack from when she was, 18 years old to when, she was finally done 10 years of med school and residencies. And so I think we got to look at, what those institutions can provide. And then we get to the opportunity of, okay, if this is the right school for you, what can you bring to our family, to our program? And then what opportunities can we provide athletically? As Coach Stiles says, this is something you can be doing for your life. It's a lifestyle. It's not a balancing act for us. It's understanding, how do I do everything to the best of my ability? Really prioritizing that academic commitment, but then you need to be able to prioritize your commitment to the athletic programs and those students out there that, we mesh with and understand that we're on those same lines of, yes, that's what I'm looking for. Then we take that next step and feel if Johns Hopkins really is going to be the right, fit for them in both regards.
Yeah. And I started my coaching career at D2 and D1 actually. And so some of the things you guys have hit on are things that I experienced as a D2 and D1 coach with regard to some of those initial conversations were, what are my scholarship possibilities? And I think that what I've really appreciated about D3 is that question is just, there's academic scholarships clearly, but the athletic side of things, that question's just, it disappears. And so it allows students to focus on the academic side of things first. That their first question to us is not, well, what kind of scholarship can I receive for running? And so it does put the emphasis on making sure they are finding the right fit for them, academically. And as Bobby alluded to, each of us have different academic strengths at our schools, or different things that people might be attracted to at our schools. But I just really appreciate that in D3, they can put that first, and that can be the most important part of their decision, because it is running is a lifestyle, and it is something you can carry with you through the rest of your life, but the academics is really what's going to drive your future. I think that like all of you guys had said, just the breadth of opportunities that are available to people, from overseas programs to different academic studies and stuff. But one of the things that Jordan hinted at is the opportunities that we can provide for people who just want to compete, And so let's talk first about kind of those what you would call walk-on level. I mean, they're all walk-ons in D3, but let's talk a little bit about some of those development stories. Jordan, you were one yourself, 10 minutes to 2-miler in high school to a national runner-up. But why don't we start with Dan, and just tell me maybe one or two of those stories where you just had somebody who wanted to compete, and you weren't sure how they would impact, but all of a sudden they became someone that had that opportunity.
Right. I mean, I'll start with myself right now. Much like Jordan, I was not good out of high school. I was a 3-sport athlete. I played soccer, I wrestled, and I ran track. And then I decided to commit to running full time. And I went from being the second to last guy on the roster my freshman year to being the number 1 runner at Geneseo and leading the team to qualify for nationals. This was back when there was just 2 automatic qualifying teams that got to go out of each region. So I really developed a passion for running that I tried to instill in others. At Geneseo, we get a wide range of spectrum of talent level. We get guys and girls that come in that are quite good right out of high school. We recently graduated Isaac Garcia Casani. He came in, he ran 4:15 out of high school, and he ran 3:42 for the 1500. He was a 4-time national champion. So he was already good out of high school, and he was able to take his talents and get even better. And then we get athletes that are extremely developmental, like myself. Here in New York, the girls, they run 3,000 versus 3,200 meters. And we'll get girls that run about 11:20 for the 3,000, some of them, which is about probably like a 12:10, 12:15, 3,200 time. And they're able to go in and run in the 950s for the 3,000 and qualify for nationals. We graduated the runner-up in the 5,000 last year, and in the outdoor track. And she came in running, really didn't have much of an outdoor season because she had a stress fracture the indoor season of her senior year, to develop and rehab her and to take her to be a runner-up at the national championship. Jenny Corcoran just finished second in the country this year individually. She ran 10:45 for the 3,000 out of high school, and develop her into the level that she did. So whether we've got girls that don't break 11 minutes in the 3,000 or guys that aren't breaking 10 minutes in the 3,200, that's the beauty of the sport. Of no matter where you are, Division III meets you where you are, and really working on that development aspect to try to meet their individual goals. So you get really great talented recruits coming in. We get athletes that are much more on the developmental aspect, and we can develop them into the national class runners.
And Jeff, why don't you share maybe one or two of your kind of unsung hero kind of stories, people joined your program and had that chance to develop?
Yeah, Bobby talked about this in terms of like development. I think this is one of the beauties of Division III is the opportunity to develop. I would argue that, in my time, most of our best athletes, by the time they graduate, weren't necessarily the best out of high school. And it's who has a love and passion for it, because school is hard and rigorous, and you have to have a lot left in the tank. And so the idea of finding kids that just love it, and to me, it's the kids who end up being really good are those that find to enjoy the process, and they just kind of fall into it by just showing up at practice. It's a positive part of their day. It adds to what they're doing. They're not focused on the immediate result right away. And you fast forward, and I'm sure all of us can cite examples of kids that were very good in high school that didn't turn out that well, or the kids that aren't, you barely even let them on the team. And we've had multiple kids we made try out that were all Americans. And does that make me a bad recruiter? I'm asking them to try out. I don't know, but I know that you have, like Molly Wozniak was, we've had kids that were the last runner on the team, like Dan, and then all of a sudden you fast forward in their junior, senior year, they're an All-American. And there's so many different cases. I hate to pick one or two, but it's just, kids can average their mile time in high school for 10,000 meters or for 5,000 meters or whatever.
You got maybe Jeff a little frozen there. We'll segue to Bobby. Again, maybe just expand about what Division III allows for in that opportunity to develop without the, I guess without the pressure of the scholarship or the pressure of having to make the team or something like that. Just what the things it affords us to help students really develop.
Yeah, I think one of it is, I think when you talk about what it takes to make the team, when you're on the team, to we have guys that when you're on our team, we welcome them and we want to embrace them for 4 years. And we talk about giving them those opportunities that we don't have an A team, B team, or travel squad, non-travel squad. There might be 1 or 2 meets per season where we're limited, and maybe if we're flying somewhere, we can't travel 117 kids across the country to go somewhere. But some of our biggest meets, whether it's at the Paul Short Invitational at Lehigh with 130 colleges, we're going to run our full roster. When we go up to Iona's meet at Van Cortlandt, again, we're going to run our full roster. We want to give those kids those opportunities because as you heard all these stories about kids that came in, I might have been the 28th guy. I'll throw out Alex Doran, who his freshman year was probably our 28th guy on our team, and then he's our qualifies for NCAA championships, and 3K is one of our top guys on the cross country squad. And we could reel off all these numbers of I think when you look at some of our athletes even on the women's side that ended up being like national runner-ups, that were 250th place in cross country their freshman year, weren't even in our top 12. And I throw out Caroline Smith, who I know went from 13th on our team as a freshman to 12th in the country as a sophomore. Look at those. I was like, I myself probably would not make Hopkins team at some point right now, but you look at, okay, we gave those opportunities, and then look, they don't feel the pressure, the anxiety that, hey, is coach recruiting somebody faster? I'm gonna get my spot taken or kicked off. That's not how we operate. I'm sure there are a lot of those, tension points, especially when scholarship dollars are involved in Division I, that, it's a great thing that we don't have to worry about. We say, hey, here's our team. And, as long as you are continuing to put in the right work and you're, just a good, productive team family member, we're going to stay committed to that. And we might not see that development by the end of their freshman year or their sophomore year, but it's going to come. And, we talk about, I think a lot of the coaches point out that even if it doesn't come, whether it's they were hampered by injuries or, for whatever other variables there may be, it's what's their experience like here and what are they going to do building those relationships with one another over their 4 years, and what's that look like 5-10 years out. I know we probably all do a lot of different alumni events, and you start hearing back from their experiences. of their team, most of the time they're not talking about, I remember running in this meet or that meet. It's, I remember being in the hotel or the bus trips or, their movie nights or all the other like team bonding events that we do. And we just want to help embrace that and try to create, as many of those relationship building memories and experiences as possible that, maybe you wouldn't get afforded at some other schools that, might have that little more pressure or roster limitations or number constraints that, for whatever variables that it may be, that it's driven that way, that, we can really operate our program the way that maybe it was intended. I think back to when you talk about what Coach Stiles says, Division III is probably what the NCAA originally intended. It's nice, I think, in our sport we can really fulfill that.
Yeah.
And I would say that.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I just like Division III with the ability to carry larger rosters and to have meets where it's unlimited, like lining up at Oshkosh with 500 people online, and your top 7 is whoever finishes in the top 7. But the idea that they're loving their teammates, so you can celebrate PRs in our sport, whether it be cross country or track, and the idea of developing in Division III, like even if someone maybe falls short of making a varsity lineup, in football, if someone doesn't start or play, they don't see their development. But in our sport, you can see your development. You have the opportunity to have everyone participate and be there. And I know for us, like our athletes, the athletes end up making our top 7. Usually their favorite meets is the Oshkosh meet every year for us. When we bring a whole team, we'll travel a bus full of people to run at this meet. It's the last meet before championship season. And they're excited because everyone's kind of ready to start racing well, and they get to celebrate each other's successes. And I think that's the beauty of our sport is, you may fall short of making a lineup, but you can still celebrate the successes. And when you're limiting your roster size to 9, like Bobby described, or whatever it might be, it's just a different ballgame. And if you look at Division III nationals, I've been to Division I nationals, and I've been to Division III nationals. I mean, that is a very different environment. Like Division III, it's controlled chaos, a lot of half-covered bodies and body paint and do crazy things and just having fun. And the Division I national championships feels much more like a business presentation. And they're running faster, but the environment and fun, it's like, man, this is a whole team. And you don't see teams running around. I see, Geneseo and run around and having chants and different things. And you have these great fan followings, which is usually their own teammates and alumni. And because when you have a roster size of 9, like there's no one left to go watch. So even if they do, are supportive, like there's no one left to go watch. And I think Division III allowing bigger roster sizes allows for a greater environment and to feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. Because if there's only 9 guys, you're really not a part of something a lot bigger because it's just about you. And I think that the development, all of a sudden you can take a guy who's a 5-minute miler, and they may be able to average 5 minutes per mile for 8,000 meters, but they never even get the chance because they just started running later in high school. And how many times at the professional level do you see people that weren't a Foot Locker finalist that are professionals? The best athletes in their 20s and 30s oftentimes weren't the high school superstar. And I definitely don't think high school superstars are like Isaac were inhibited by Division III. I think it was probably enhanced because he gets to celebrate his teammates as well.
Yeah, I gotta tag on to Coach Stiles there. For all the kids watching out there, please YouTube some of the Division III cross country national championships. Insane, especially getting trampled by the WashU and Geneseo kids, even as a coach. I know in 1998, I got to go to Lehigh and watch the Division I cross country championships. I thought it was great because I could be right up there. Nobody's around me watching the action. It was, as Coach Stiles said, very business-like. And, my first, opportunity to go to a Division III national championship, I'm trying to find one space on the course where as a coach, I might be able to have a kid hear me for half a second. They're running all over the place. I think we have about 3,000 spectators, is what I've heard before, like at our cross country championships. They're insane. The music, the chants, the teepees that Nebraska Wesleyan is setting up. I mean, go watch some of this stuff. It's just an atmosphere and excitement that I think is unparalleled at any other, NCAA championship.
Yeah, and I think just one, again, to kind of jump off on, and this is something we've all touched on a little bit, I think that's one of the coolest things with our sport is you're, especially in track, right? We're all running on the same track, right? We're all running the same distance, in cross country, we're all running 8Ks. The majority of our season doesn't matter if you're Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, right? We're competing against those teams, and whether you're a superstar coming out of high school, like we've all had those, or that developmental runner, you're going to get opportunities to compete with people that are really, really fast. And I think that's one of the coolest things. So, and, I think we've all talked about that really fast athlete we've had and that developmental. They're both getting really awesome competition, even though they're on a Division III roster, because we're going to go to, all of our teams go to really big races where we see some of the best athletes in the country, regardless of the division. And I think that's just something that's really cool with distance running in general, and certainly track and field.
I think, something that pretty much everybody hinted at there was, when we started talking about people you could develop, and, I definitely, one of my best runners ever, Jeff Dover, over in Virginia, he was someone who I didn't actually recruit. He kind of found us, and he was someone that I remember telling literally, I'm not sure if you're going to make the team. I don't know if you're competitive enough. I'm not getting that vibe from you personally. Your times are, pretty average in some regards and below average in other regards. And, he had that opportunity to prove himself, and he ended up becoming, one of the most versatile runners, in D3 from the 800 up to the 8K. So we all have those development stories, as you've all mentioned, but I think something we also hit on there was the top end is not necessarily any worse. We have a very, very good top end, and so I know Will Lear, a pretty good professional runner, came out of Pomona, but I think the number that is most universal amongst high school kids and college would be the 5K. So if you guys could each kind of spit off what your 5K school record is in both men and women, I think it might give a quick hint at the level of competition that is available at D3. I know for our school, it's around 1420 or so in the 5K for men, and it's about 1710 for 5K for women. So go ahead, and each of you kind of mention what your top end is, so people have an idea of what level of competition is out there.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start that one. And yeah, you mentioned Will Lear. He actually holds a lot of our school records, which were set at USA championship meets. So, I think 340 is our 1500 record when he finished sixth at the USA championship meet. But for 5K, last year we had a senior, Andy Reichling, who was the national runner-up in the 5K. He ran 14:06 for 5K, and I don't coach the women at Pomona-Pitzer, but I believe the women's record is 16:20 for 5K.
Yeah.
Ours, 14. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Just to kind of piggyback off of Jordan, our school record in the 5K, she ended up going on to compete in 4 U.S. Olympic trials. Melissa White, she was the D3 national champion, running 16:17 for the 5K, which is pretty quick for a girl. And then our 5K, I mentioned him, Isaac Garcia Casani. He ran 3:42 for the 1500. He was a 4-time national champion in indoor and outdoor. He tried his hand in the 5K, a miler moving up, and he clipped off a 14:16, not really training for that. We've had a number of guys like right around 14:16, but that's our school record there. And a 3:42 1500 is roughly the equivalent of right around 4 flat, just under for the mile. So there's some really fast runners that go through D3.
Our records are 14:10 and 16:36. 1636.
Yeah, we got, in the women's side, I think 1628 on the women's side for 5K. And then, probably like 10 guys all hovering around that 1430 mark. We talked about even indoors. We had 4 guys break our school record on the same day in the 3K. So, it's pretty tight up top also, but we're in that like 1430 range 5K for men, 1620s for women.
Yeah, it's definitely a tremendous opportunity at the top as well, and I know Bobby mentioned it earlier that our sport is that unique sport where you have the opportunity to compete based on what level you are personally. You will be put in a heat based on what time you are capable of running, and it will not be based on whether you are Division I, Division II, Division III. So, for a majority of our year, any of our athletes have that opportunity to be competing against the best athletes, regardless of division. Out west here, Jordan and I, there's not a lot of Division III teams, but we have some of the best Division I, distance running in the country out here, and we have the opportunity to face some of those students. So, I definitely, I think one of the myths of D3 is that, it's only for developmental people, or that you don't have that opportunity to be elite as an athlete. Maybe there's the elite academic stigma to D3, but not the D3 elite as an athlete. And I'm glad that we've started kind of debunking that. Are there any other myths about D3 that any of you have kind of encountered that maybe you want to address right now?
Imagine just the idea that Division III is more of a rec philosophy, and it's more of a down the priority list. You're really not putting a lot into it. And I think that's definitely far from the truth. And I think what it is, I view it like this. It's academics is 1A for sure. But athletics can be 1B. And you kind of pick where it falls on your priority list. But to be good in running, it's really about being consistent over a long period of time without interruption. So finding people who love it, who want to do it. And that's where you see it's the idea of the Nick Simmons who runs 145 the summer of his senior year. It's the Will Lear who runs 340. It's Dan Meyer who runs 2848 or 2853 or what it was at the national championships, lapping the field. You have Sandhu Rabenchik, who went on to run 835 in the steeplechase. Andrew Rock, who's a good friend of mine, who spoke at the NCAA national championships, talking about he was a gold medalist his senior year of college and around the Olympics, gets a gold medal with 6 Olympic trials. The next summer is runner-up at the Worlds in the 400. And he's asked many times, do you ever imagine you didn't go Division I? He's like, no, Division III is what helped me to develop who I was. Emily Richard ran 2 flat the summer after graduating. So to me, I just look at it and think that Division III really provides the opportunity for someone to be their best, especially when looking at when they really want academics to be a high priority. I think if you find the right fit and you find the right balance, that to me, it's not being the best runner you can be. It's being the best runner you can be at WashU. It's being the best runner you can be at Geneseo. It's being the best runner you can be at Johns Hopkins or Pomona or North Central, or wherever it is. And what are your life goals? Do you want to be a neurologist? Do you want to be a lawyer? And I'll never forget Bob Campanen went in the 1996 Olympic trials and in the marathon, and afterwards was interviewed, and he had talked about he was living on 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night because he was in med school. And the idea of right there is like, wow, like that was eye-opening to me. I lived on 8 hours of sleep, took a nap. If I didn't get my 8 hours, it'd be back in my head. But I believe that if you're doing things for the right reasons, you're doing it for motivated reasons. So the parent out there who gets up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. because it's the only time they have a chance to run. John Weigel's a good friend of mine from college who was getting up at 4 a.m., going and training for 2 hours, then being a dad, then being a great teacher, and still qualify for Olympic trials and marathons. And if he was doing that because he was playing video games, it doesn't work. But when you find the right match and you're extending yourself, but with the goals that you want that are helping you move forward, I think Division III just provides that opportunity to be your best. I think where you're happiest is where you'll be your best runner. So if you want to be a doctor and you're at a school where they're not letting you take the classes you want when you want them, that's probably going to take away from your running. And so to me, it's finding the right fit. Bobby talked about earlier. It's, he wants to find people the right fit for Johns Hopkins. Like, that's my number one thing. Who loves WashU? That's who I want to be on our team. And I think wherever you go, it's finding the right fit. I would have been miserable at WashU because I would have done terribly in school. But I loved my experience at North Central because that was a good fit for me. So find the right fit and you'll be a great runner. If that's at a Division I school, then so be it. But don't let a Division III label inhibit it, because most likely there's going to be people that are much better than you, even if you're getting recruited by good Division I programs, because Division III at the national level is Division I level. And the national champions, a lot of times those kids are competing at the national Division I All-American. And we have kids that are good enough occasionally that can even go Division I or even the world champs on occasion. And so don't be limited by Division III. Find the right school, and that's where you'll be your best.
Yeah, I think definitely hit on some good points there. And I know Jordan, one of Jordan's returning steeplers, had we had this outdoor season, he was, I think, one of the top 5 of any division returning this year. I believe that's about where he was. And, I think one of the things I really enjoyed about that I think D3 has an advantage on is for some of those students who have those post-collegiate goals or those U.S. national level goals. I think one of the things that people know about Nick Simmons' career is he was really, really great at knowing how to win his heat and knowing how to advance and knowing how to get through rounds. And if you're at a Division III level, if you're a boy running, 350 in the 1500 or a girl running 435 in the 1500, you have the chance to be at nationals as a freshman. And at the Division I level, you're not going to be, impactful beyond your conference, if even that. I think I looked up the slowest it took to be all conference in Division I. It was like the slowest conference, it was like 440 or something like that. And at that point, you're sniffing at getting to nationals in D3. And so the opportunity to be at the national meet sooner and more often and gain more experience can help for some of those top level runners who want to run post collegiately. If you wait till your senior year to understand how to advance at a national meet, like it might be at D1, because you took 4 years just trying to figure out how to time trial your way to get to the meet, you don't have that experience knowing how to run through rounds. And I think the opportunity to get at nationals and have those extra experiences sooner, is a big advantage that I think, D3 has. Got a couple questions from the field here, the attendees, that I definitely think we could answer one or two of them real quick. But if any of you can speak on, maybe what no junior year for kids this year, what are those recruits? How does that change how we think of what their times are, or how we might recruit, or just what's something they shouldn't worry about as they move forward, since everyone was kind of on a level playing field here?
Yeah, I'll start out on that one. Yeah, I think everybody wants to worry about, well, I don't have junior times. And kind of what Jeff and Bobby have said, like, we're not necessarily looking for the fastest athletes, right? We want student athletes that find, our campuses to be the right fit for them. And if that's the case, we're going to look at everything else that they have to offer us in terms of the athletic sphere. So we'll look at what was their junior cross country season like, what if they were able to compete indoor, what did that look like? Are they showing just a progression? And a lot of times that's what we want to see. Not necessarily are they progressing to be the best, but are they having a consistent progression? And typically that tells us, hey, they care about this sport. if they're consistently getting better. And obviously, we'll be looking at fall cross country times. But I think the biggest thing that a prospective student athlete can do, for me anyway, is reach out. Let me know you are interested. Still, no matter what's going on, give me updates on what you're doing. Are you still doing some training? Great, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know when fall racing starts. It's just knowing that you want to be at our schools or are interested in our schools is going to go a long way, more so maybe than you just running a particular time and us having to find, look at athletic.net and finding it. That would be my take on it.
Yeah, I would add, certainly, try to be proactive. I mean, if anything, use this time now where maybe a lot of you are at home doing online classes to do some research on some schools. Try to figure out just kind of the type of schools, the size of school. You might not know, but there's probably virtual campus tours that are probably most of our schools are putting out right now. There's probably a lot of YouTube videos. I would encourage all of you, though, rather than trying to just look up on the website and determine I can't run for this school or assume that you definitely can. Most of us probably have an online recruit form on our website. Fill that out. Try to do some of the work for the coaches. And I get emails all the time that just say can you tell me some information about your team? I'm lucky sometimes if I might even get their name. And I can send them a generic stuff, but give us some context there. If you've gone out, you've already done the work, you figure out whether it's Hopkins or WashU or Lewis and Clark, whatever it may be. It might be a school you're interested in. Academically, you like the campus, fill out the recruit form, and then follow up with an email with the coach. I saw one of the questions in the Q&A panel there was what do I do if the coach hasn't wrote me back yet? First, probably be patient. I know a lot of us, we get bombarded with emails.
Write us back again.
It's certainly very different to, when I was recruiting in 1999, and there was a lot of letters that were coming in, and you might have gotten 50 emails over the course of the season. And, I looked last year, I got 14,000 emails, from within a couple month period. So hang tight. Or you might not want to bombard them every day. Why haven't you responded? Why haven't you responded? It's okay to follow up with an email and just say, I'm not sure if you got my last email. Just want to get some more information. What does it take? Honesty is always going to be one of your best attributes, both ways. We don't want to mislead anybody telling you, if you're a 6-minute guy miler, you probably aren't going to have a spot on our team. We do have roster limitations here. I don't want to mislead you and tell everybody that, yeah, you've got a spot here. But I also don't want you to write off or anything. And, we don't have minimum, walk-on standards, recruit standards. We want to make sure we're filling our roster with the right people. So, we're looking at, your junior year times, we're looking at sophomore year times. The more that you can provide us more context with that, and I'm not telling you to go write an essay, but give us at least the basics, fill out the form, and then just try to really follow up with coaches and, see if there's other materials that might be out there that you can learn more about the program and, continue when things hopefully return to some sort of normalcy, get on campus, try to, there's probably tours, information sessions, talking with other students, even outside the team, to just try to get a feel with the university. And, hopefully then you can have some time to sit down with one of us or other coaches that you might be looking at and, try to have some face-to-face time and learn if this is really a good fit for you or not. So hopefully that answers. Again, I know Coach Barreau put out it. If there are other questions for the pages to that, try to add them onto that Q&A list at the bottom of, your Zoom talks. For those that are doing that, we'll try to at least kind of hit some of these topics and cover as many things as we can.
I'll piggyback off.
I would add in.
Go for it.
All right. I would just add in, a lot of you had a junior cross country season. Everyone lost their junior track season. If you feel like you are ready for an increased resume due to losing, tell your story. And Bobby kind of alluded to that. And part of that could be having a coach writing us about what they saw you being able to do and why. Not just this kid was ready to run a 4:10 mile, but here are the things I was seeing. And a coach can speak the same language to us in terms of development and kind of point to the trajectory that maybe you feel like you didn't have the opportunity to share. Realizing that everyone across America is in the same boat. So in some ways, everyone's on equal footing. The challenge is for those who are maybe just starting to rise up and are on that improvement curving, and they know it. Like you're having training, like you know you're ready for that breakthrough. Well, tell your story through email or have a coach reach out and in anything. I mean, I am imperfect with email. I'll tell you that. So email me, I don't get back to you. Do not take it personally. I got kids in my team that probably 2 months behind on, so I apologize up front. But I think that be persistent. Like that's what it takes to be great. So if you really are interested in a school, be persistent in a patient manner that Bobby talked about. So tell your story and use your coach to help, because I think that they can speak a language to us versus just like, my goal is to run 4:10. Well, that doesn't make you a 4:10 miler. My goal is to run 3:59. I can tell you I'm not a sub 4-minute miler right now. And so the idea of having your territory told, but maybe having someone help tell that for you, it brings a little more validity to like your beliefs and can speak on your behalf that way as well.
I think every program, operates a little bit differently. I've heard a number of us talk about making the team, and I recommend reaching out to the coach to talk about how does one make a team. Certainly having junior year track seasons that helps to validify things, but specifically at SUNY Geneseo, we run a tryout process. If you found the campus and the college that really fits your needs, talk about that tryout process. And I firmly believe, and I tell all the athletes, things worth having are things worth working hard for. And you might not be guaranteed a roster spot, but go out, try out for the team and see what happens. Track season or no track season, it's what you can show on that day during the time trial to see who makes the team. So specifically at Geneseo, we run a time trial to determine who makes it, regardless of what your resume is before coming in. So we tell all the athletes you have to reinvent themselves to come in and remake the team. The slate is wiped clean, and everyone's got to earn their spot. So like I said, things worth having are things worth working hard for. If you find the college that you really want to be from an academic standpoint, it's going to really set you up well for your academic pursuits. Go put yourself out there and showcase that this is where I want to be, and I'm going to go earn my spot, regardless of what my resume says or doesn't say.
Yeah, it's I think communication is the most important thing consistently, and we'll probably even say that when you're on our team, is making sure that you're communicating with your coaches, and that's how you're going to develop as an athlete. That's how you'll develop as a student and as a person. Part of the advantage of Division III and the liberal arts setup is your opportunity to communicate with people is generally much higher, and your opportunity to learn from people is much higher when you communicate with them. So, if that's the kind of school you're looking for, then kind of practice what you're wanting to preach later, you're wanting to do later, and communicate with the coaches, whether that be now as a high school student, even without your season right now. There's not going to be race video. So, take a video of yourself running at practice, doing a stride, doing a 400, doing a hill repeat, just showing us your passion for the sport. And those are the kind of things that will be meaningful to us, because times aren't always going to be the indicator of everything. It's going to be what drives your passion, and that's going to be, what excites us as a coach is how is that person going to contribute to our team, whether it's as a runner or as a leader or as somebody that we know we can develop athletically, socially, personally. I think we've done a great job covering a lot of these topics, and I think if I can do this right, I'm going to share my screen. I think I found a brief clip of a D3 cross country national meet that I'm going to show, and hopefully this works out. So bear with me. Who can share? All right. You guys seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay. This is about 8 or 9 years ago now, but this was the start of the women's race at Oshkosh, and you'll see the massive field coming up, and then you'll start hearing some chants, and then as the field is coming into view, you'll see some of those half-dressed crazies and flags running behind the field to get to the next spot on the course. So I know that that's just a glimpse as the best video I could find on short notice here, but hopefully that was a little glimpse of some of the stuff we experience, and I'd say that goes on for about 20 minutes pre-race, throughout the entire race and between races and post-race. But before we sign off here, is there anything else anybody would like to add just about D3? Like I said, we started this talk trying to just celebrate D3 and during D3 week now, and so feel free to say anything else you would like to.
I'd say that regardless of your times, I guarantee that anyone can find a school to run at. Doesn't mean you can run it at any school, but if I will run in college, I only want to go to a school I can run at. I believe in my whole heart that anyone can find a school. It's going to vary greatly on where it's located, what they're going to be strong in academically, but it is an option. And I just believe that, athletics is such a great thing that I believe it's a worthwhile to find a school if you have that passion to run on a team, to not give that up. And maybe there's a school you want to go to that's not an option. You have to make the decision of, okay, what's the right fit for me? I think, and finding the right school is very important, and running can be taken away. But if you have a passion, do some research. I believe that those options are out there, and I just encourage you to do it, because running, there's so much of it is what you put into it. And all five of us as coaches, I guarantee have been wrong at times of having someone on our team that just not seeing the vision, and all of a sudden they just surprise us, because we can't look into your heart. And if you have a passion for running, that goes such a long way. So I just encourage you to pursue your passion and to see running competitively as a worthwhile pursuit, and to not let a coach just tell you whether you can or can't. They may tell you, here what your options are here, but if you want to pursue it, go for it and go all in. And I believe it's very much worth it.
Yeah, I think, and this is probably just a summary of a lot of stuff we've had on, but I think just my parting words would be, find somewhere you're going to be happy, with certainly the academics. If athletics weren't a piece, it should be somewhere you'd want to be, even with the athletic piece, even though that is important to a lot of us and plays a big part of the decision. But find that place that's the right fit. There was a couple of questions I noted on, like, how do you do that? Obviously it's tough right now, but do as much research as you can. When campuses do start to open up, get on as many campuses as you can, whether they're private, public, big, small. That's going to help narrow in on what is the right fit. And you'll hit a campus, and I think you'll find one that, hey, this is where I do see myself for 4 years. And then the last piece, just trying to hit some of the other questions I saw in the Q&A, the financial aid piece and being a worry in Division III, right? Because we don't have athletic scholarships. But, certainly I can say this is true for most of our schools and a lot of schools out there. Most Division III schools can be very affordable. Don't let a sticker price, that's what I always call the listed tuition. Don't let that scare you. Almost every school out there, you'll find what's called a net price calculator. It'll take you 10, 15 minutes, sit down with your folks or guardians and fill that out, and it'll give you a really good idea of what it's actually going to cost to go to a specific school. You might find it might be cheaper than certain public options or certain other options you were looking at. Not always, but for many students, it will be. And then the last thing, kind of just on like what Jeff said, for me, I can certainly say this, not being too far removed, the best memories I have are certainly not the accolades. The best memories I have are all the times I spent with teammates and getting the experiences and traveling to different places and just doing really cool things with a group of people that you really connected with and all had a similar mindset, working towards shared goals. And I think when I look back at the D3 glory days, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I would just add one thing, just jumping on Jordan, that is relationships. Life's about relationships. We're hardwired for relationships. And I think that our sport fosters that better than any other sport, because you can go for an hour run, accomplish what you're supposed to for the day, and share your heart with your best friends or share a laugh or whatever it might be. So 100% relationships is a huge part of it. And again, the sticker price, as Jordan said, you need to do some research, and if a school is worth pursuing, like take some time to figure out what the actual price would be versus just saying, oh, I can't afford that sticker price. Well, I get it. Very few people can. So dig deeper to find out what that actual price would be for you and your family.
Dan, Bobby, go ahead.
Side of things. Oh, sorry, Matt.
No, I was just saying, Dan, if you want to add something.
On the athletic side of things, ask the questions on, like, is this team too good? I'm kind of stumbling over my words, but am I slow enough, or am I too slow to make the team, or is the team too fast? Or, have those questions, because I think, we talk about the myth of D3 of being more of like that recreational sport or that JV amongst the colleges. That's often not the case. Like specifically at Geneseo, our top runners are faster than any state champion that's going to be coming out of New York State. So we got the best runners in New York State that won't even be the fastest runners at Geneseo. And I think that's true for all the colleges here and many others across the country. And Division III can be very good, but it's also, don't be intimidated if you don't think you're fast enough, because there is a college for everybody within programs across the country. Ask those questions. Don't be intimidated thinking you're not good enough or the college isn't fast enough to give you competition. Always reach out and ask those questions. Just like on the financial piece, if you don't think you can afford it, ask those questions, because there's always ways to try to lower that cost with that. So big thing we talked about is communicate. Reach out, be persistent. I really like that. It's been mentioned before of if you want something, put yourself out there, be persistent, because that's a really good characteristic and attribute to have in a student athlete on the team, is someone who's persistent and not afraid to advocate for themselves. So if you've got a dream, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to possibly get denied or might not get a return email or phone call back. Keep getting after it. If you want something, go after it with all your heart, because that's the way things are going to get done.
Bobby, any parting words from you?
Yeah, well, I want to just wish everybody the best. I mean, this is a tough time for all of us. Please stay safe and look at, especially I think where we're all right now, there's always optimism of every situation. There's positives in everything. I know that's what we do with every athlete after they finish a race that might not have been their personal best. There's probably something positive that came out of us. We're focusing with our team right now is, we just got an extended summer training block. A lot of questions I'm getting, can you give me training advice? I saw we actually had a lot of questions on the Q&A. Can you give me training advice? My season's done. What should I do? I mean, one, stay healthy. This isn't the time to go from running 20 miles a week to 90 miles a week because you got to get out of the house. Then you're going to have 18 stress fractures and you're not going to be able to do anything with that either. But be safe with things, be passionate about it. Please, I know I'm going to be sending up a follow email to, all the recruits that we invited onto this chat. Reach out to any of the coaches here, and we'll try to get that information back to you. Just get excited about eventually we're all going to be racing again. We're all going to be running again, training again. We've had some great battles with all of us. I can't wait to just have those team battles again. And I just wish you guys, stay healthy and get ready for a good, fall season. Hopefully it comes here on time. and, stay healthy, be well.
Yeah, thank you guys. The great part about being the moderator here is I get to just say, yeah, everything you guys said is what I believe too. So thanks for doing all the heavy lifting with the talking today. I appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate all the attendees' time today. We're glad we were helpful in some way to you, and reach out to any of us individually. You're going to be able to find us easily on our school's websites if you aren't already in contact with us. And we look forward to talking with you, and we look forward to continuing to grow the passion of the sport for you. So thanks, Jordan, Bobby, Dan, Jeff, and happy D3 week. And I look forward to seeing you guys all again in the fall.
Thank you. Thanks for organizing this.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye, everybody.